A very good day, and I felt like re-recording this session because I feel that this approach should be a common understanding, and we all should be aligned while we are working in a you know a complex project wherein there is a lot of involvement of the field activity, and there is a linkage to the gamep in our office where we are trying to analyze a lot of things. So it's very important that we are aligned to a series of activities. Down the line, if you feel there are some words which you can't understand, of course I can't make the translation from word to word while explaining, because this is something which is a part of, an original part of a project approach. And that's one reason I'm recording this, so that you have any doubt that you find in any of the slides or during my course of explanation, you can always re-refer. You can always open the video again, and I'm sure you will be very clear about it. Okay, this is the reason I'm recording it. Now, coming to the topic, you know when I say an integrated project approach, integrated yani integration of the field activities, I'm referring to now the project, our project, which is air quality, management system, or you can say the air quality monitoring stations. Okay. So we have 80 air quality monitoring stations at the moment, which is within our project. So this whole slide I want to tell you is about a project. So I'm confined to the project, nothing generic. So there is a huge quantum of activities. When you say at field, there is a calibration, there is a KPI, there is a regular activity going on, there is a transit of the people who go to the site and do the calibrations, and then you are getting the results on site, online, from site by servers. You have 4 servers now, the integration, so many things. You see, the idea of this whole approach is, as a team, everybody has certain expertise. You cannot do the calibration. uh, X cannot do the calibration, Y cannot do the analysis, and somebody else cannot do the engineering or the repairing aspects of any of the analyzers. So it's basically the job is divided depending on the skill sets. But the activities at the site, when we are engaged as a team, I think it should be aligned. We should be understanding what we are doing independently, what you are doing, I mean, what X is doing, what Y is doing, Y Z is doing, and contribute towards one goal, that is one KPI as a whole. So this is what, when I say integration, yani understanding of all these components. Okay. Remember, for any of the projects, anywhere you go, okay, any industry, any what you call R&D organization, any major project, minor project, there are 6 elements which are very critical for a smooth and successful operation of a project. What are those 6 elements? This is what you can see on the screen now. The 6 elements are: number one, always the boss, the customer, you can say the client. Number two, the financial. Yani we should understand what is the budget, so that the ideas or the implementation or the exercise that you're doing should be within the budget. Okay. Third is the operational. For example, our operations at field, we call our project itself as operation and maintenance. So what are the operations? Is going to the field, is going the calibrations, how we do the calibrations, what is the repeatability of the calibrations, what is that? These are all the technical aspects which are a part of the operations. So until and unless your operations is in good shape, nothing will come out of it. You got the point? So the third is operational. And fourth, of course, are the people, which is very critical. Yani, you are the people, I am the people where we all are sitting together and working together to contribute to one target, to achieve one target, to have a successful implementation of the project. You know, so these people sometimes, either when you do a job, that job you can finish of your own. I mean, it can be an analysis or it can be report writing, you can finish of your own. Or sometimes you require the whole team support. Yani you may require some 3 or 4 people, or you may require 2 people, you may require 1 people. So these people are very important for you to have a successful implementation of the project, you know. So what is the fifth one? Fifth one is the product. Now in our case, the product is the report. So the report is a final representation of the whole activity. You see, it starts from the calibration, it starts from the what you call going to the field and calibration, and then the report going to the server. From the server, you are extracting the report, and then you're preparing a final report. Okay, so your final report is a representation of all the activities down the line, starting from the zero. So it's very important that your final product, the client is ultimately concerned about your final product. Let's be very honest about it. He doesn't care, he or she doesn't care about what are all the series that you are doing. Of course, we do it because it's required, but ultimately it's the final product on your table. So is the product reliable? Is this product good? Is one aspect. Now, the final one, you know, is innovation, as you can see on the screen. That means you have a product. Yani this product is an outcome of several activities at field, yani at site. But the question comes is, how is your product? The client will think, why should I take your product? Why not someone else? Why not someone else? So the question comes is how innovative your product is when compared to other people. Why a client should repeatedly come to you, why a client should repeatedly refer to you, because you are going to give some innovation. You are using the same product, but your analysis or representation or the statistical output of your product is different. So that's called innovation. And that innovation is one aspect which keeps your client engaged and repeatedly refer you. This is called the sustainability. So if your product is good, it's fine. But if your innovation is good, you're sustainable. So in order to sustain yourself in the market and in the business, you got to be innovative. And that is your continuous process. You know, this is all about basically a skeletal view of what I am addressing, the concept of integrated approach. And since our project is air quality monitoring systems, so we call how this all integrated systems can apply to air quality as well. You know, so this is the topic that we are going to discuss. Let's go to the second slide. So when I say, you know, so far I have already given an explanation of the integrated approach and, you know, the basic concepts, the 6 elements, you know, the customer, the product, the financial, the operation, the innovation, okay, financial. So when I explain this, I understand there are a lot of things going on in your mind, you know, whether my activity is related to these or not. It's good that you are thinking on this. Now, this is a very interesting exercise. The slide that you can see. We all are working towards a project, you know, as one vision, to have a smoother output, to have a smoother, you know, the operations, to have a very good results. Okay, but have you ever thought that independently when you're working on a project, any of your activities that you are doing is really adhering to any of these six elements or useful to the six elements, you know. So while you are listening to this slide, or probably once I have finished, you can refer to this third slide again, and you can list out the activities that you have done for 1 week related to office, of course. Okay. um, it can be, say, for example, data extraction, just an example, or report writing, or the analysis of the data, or asking the people at site to do the calibration, or to give the whatever it is. So you list out, probably you might have done maybe 5 or 6 activities, and in these 5 or 6 activities, now list out or group them in the order of these categories. Yani, suppose you have 6 activities. Out of these activities, which activity will be useful for client? Whether your activity is within the financials or within the budget of the project, or you're going to propose saying something, I have $1 million idea, which is out of the project, which is out of the scope of the work or out of the budget, it's not going to help you. Yani, your activity is whether that fourth or fifth or sixth activity is within that financial, and which activity that you have written is affecting the operational, or it is related to operational. Which of your activity that you are taking is going to have an impact on the final product? Yani, I'm doing the analysis, I'm doing a statistical analysis of the data. Okay, I have SOX, NOx, PM10, PM2.5, but I'm doing in a very nice way the statistical analysis, the detailed analysis. So when I do the detailed analysis, obviously my final product that I'm going to get is going to have a good impact, right? So that's a good product. And while doing this, did you do the all activity independently, or there are some people with you? Or it can be 1 people or 2 people or 3 people who are the people attached to you. And finally, as I tell you, the client, financial, operational, product, and people. Maybe all the companies or everybody might be doing this. I mean, they might not be knowing this program to have the smoother orientation, but more or less the activities might be adhered to this. But what makes you different or us different from anybody else while executing a project is having an innovation. So if your activity is giving any innovation or not. So if your 5 or 6 activities that you have listed out on the paper is not adhering or is not representing all the 6 elements, means you're missing something in your sustainability, or you're missing something in a final, what you call, to add value to yourself or to add value to the project you have. This is very important. Yeah, this is also important, that if you have understood the third slide, just the slide before, which I have explained, so that you can write down, you understand that out of my activities, you see, when we are doing a project, there are some 15 people or 20 people if we're doing a major project. Okay, now everybody is assigned some tasks, have delegated some tasks. So the problem is whether that X or Y or Z, whoever is doing the activities, are the tasks adhered to the business results? Yani, your activity, is it of any value to the business? If it is not a value to the business, I want to tell you, it's not going to it's not going to be useful. So you need to realize that whatever we are doing, or the planning or executing, it should have a final output to the business results, and it should have a final output to the product. It should have a final output to the innovation. So this is very important. If you are not doing that, the very simple thing is you shouldn't be doing that. So you have to now plan whatever your activity that you are doing. Suppose if you are analyzing a VOC, if you are analyzing a hydrocarbon, you got to question yourself whether this activity is going to give any output to my project or to my business. Is it going to give an add value? Please go ahead. If you feel it's not going to give an add value, I'm just doing it for no reason, it doesn't make sense, you know. So this is what is important of the activity that we are doing, you know. This is what it means. As I told you, this is the same first slide when I started off. So when I say that we are trying to integrate our approach, integrate a project, you know, mixing up all these 6 components, yani customer, product, financial, operational, people, innovation. I'm using the word quantified. Yani, you cannot have an integrated approach in any project unless and until you are actually quantifying your activities. Yani, what are the activities? How many days you're going to achieve it? What is the target? Is it achievable? And if at all, if it is achievable, what is the final product you're going to get? You see, everything here, what I'm saying has to be quantified. And unless things are quantified, you cannot achieve anything. So customer, as I tell you, the client or the customer is the boss, but to give something to the customer finally, all the activities have to be quantified. And how that's done, it's very important. As you can see on the slide here, there are three things here. One is a strategic management system. Second one is a communication tool. And third one is a measurement system. Now, this is in one way a universal methodology or a universal process to achieve any target. Yani, for example, taking a case of our operations, that is air quality monitoring systems for the stations we have. Now, our KPI is defined, you know, to achieve a target of all the 80 stations. We say our KPI is 85%. Yani 85% of all the stations which should be running, which should be properly operated to achieve a KPI. Okay. Now, this is a KPI which is given to us as a team. This is a target. The question comes is, what is the best strategy to achieve this KPI? So that means there are series of activities because we have 80 monitoring stations at 8 different locations. Yani there is a lot of traveling involved. 80 stations, some of them are old, some of them are new. Some of them have 8 analyzers, some of them have 10 analyzers. Some of the analyzers doesn't work properly. Some of the analyzers, you know, you don't have a data loggers. And some analyzers are not properly calibrated. Some analyzers are new. So there is a lot of complexity. And finally, you have 4 different servers. And sometimes one server doesn't work. You miss out the data of 5 to 6 stations. So when I say that you need to have a strategic management, which means you need to have a proper plan of how to execute these different steps. So this is very important. And this can never be just over phone. You say that you're going there, I'm running there, I'm on the way. I've just stopped by, you know, a coffee parlor. I'm just having a coffee. And after that, I will go to the station. You need to have a strategic management to achieve a goal on paper with a flow chart. This is how we operate. And that should be your reference point. And the flow, when you say that, oh, this flow is broken, that means you're not able to do the calibration. If this flow is broken, you're not able to achieve the desired results. Okay. So you have a strategic management, for example, in place. And the next thing that comes is communication. You have 80 stations. Now you have the strategic management that this starts today, the calibration is tomorrow, this station is calibration will be done after 4 days, this station will be calibrated after 10 days. You have the whole plan with you. And then is a communication. Communicating to the right person at the right time by an official format that this should be done on this day. This is the second step. And this communication is a very effective tool, I want to tell you. And if your communication, everything depends on communication. It's just not the telephonic conversations. Of course, we do that to have that connection to the people, but ultimately an official format, the communication matters in an official tool, by an official tool. I mean to say, I'm referring to an email. So, but much more important is communication at right time. You know, you have the program ready on you. You said communicate this, you know, to the relevant team that this needs to be done on this day. Khalas, that needs to be done, and that needs to be complied, and that needs to be honored. It's very simple. Why? Because you need to get a final result. And what is the final result? This is the third thing, which I called measurement system, which you can see on the screen. So you have a strategy, you have done the communication, and third thing is measurement system. Yani from the stations, from the locations, you are getting all the data from one point to one single server to extract, you know, in our premises for the data analysis. So the measurement system here is also very effective of how relevant your data is, of how effectively you are extracting the data. So the final measurement of your data is, now you can see, is directly related to your strategic management, to your communication, and to your measurement. So if something is not communicated properly, it's not done in time, you're not getting your measurement in time. If something that the strategy is not done, management is something, it's not happening in the field, it's not communicated, we say there's a communication gap, ultimately you're not going to get the results. So in short, so these three things have to be very proper. So as you can see on the slide, when I say strategy, so the most important thing is you need to understand what needs to be done. Or when I say, that's the reason I mentioned what to do. There is a problem. I want to tell you, we don't address problems every time. We have to address the solution. Problems are there everywhere. You say the 80 air quality monitoring stations, you don't have problem, you will have a hell of a problems. What's required is a solution. And that's where we are. I mean, as a professional, as a specialist, as an expert, when we say that we are working on a project, we need to look into the solution. So the point is what to do. That what to do is your strategic management. How to communicate and how to let people know. The communication also refers to the training. The communication also refers to educate people. The communication refers to writing them an email. Communication refers to continuous phone calls, continuous follow-up. And then the internal system is a measurement system which we are going to do as a final result of the data. Okay? Now, this is a very important slide on your screen, which you can see. So when I say you have the communication done, you have the strategy done, you have the measurement done, of course, things are in place. But the next challenge that comes to you is to balance. So when I say that you are integrating the whole process, it's fine. You are taking care of customers, you are taking of consumer cooperation, you are taking of innovation, fine. But there is a balance, and that balance is between internal and external. So let's try to understand what is internal and external now, okay? So when we are operating a project, there is a defined budget, which means the logic or the smart approach lies in how you are utilizing your budget in an effective way. Okay. Honestly, any company for any project, you know, once they have a project, they have a, they look into the the profitability, of course, it's quite obvious. I mean, ultimately, it's business at the end of the day. We look into the profitability, but it also, the most important thing is also the credibility of that company lies in how effectively they are giving or they're executing a project for a final product. So it's all about the utilization of the budget in a smart way. So that's internal. So you can see on the slide that this budget is internal. Operational. I want to tell you one thing, and you need to take it for granted, is that operation is purely internal. You cannot influence, or you cannot, discuss your operational issues all the times to the client, because the client is not bothered about your operational issues. It has to be planned within. It is to be internal. So the moment your operational is not in place and comes out, or there is a patch or there is a leakage, it shows that you're not in place. So we need to take care that operational is purely internal, and we need to take care of that internally. It has to be in place. Innovation. Now, this innovation is something that is coming as an activity from our side, as a final platter on the table of the client, saying that this is what we are going to give you. If the client is asking you something and you give it, that's not an innovation. That's just something, a part of the product that is there in the project, and you are giving it. So as I have been telling you, that the sustainability lies in giving an innovation and surprising the client, saying that this is what this product is and this is what we are going to give. And finally, the people. Of course, it's internal. How we operate, how we manage the people, how we build in the what you call the morale of the people internally, and how we build the skill set of the people to achieve the target. So these are the internal aspects. So financial, operational, innovation, and people. Always remember 4 components wherever you go in this world. This is internal. You have to manage this internally. Then what's external is we were discussing about consumers. You see that consumers now goes to external, because these 4 aspects are going to give a final product to the consumer. So consumer is external. So you have to maintain that balance. What are distributors here? When I say distributors here, which means the you can say the sub-consultants or the other subcontractors associated with the project. Say, for example, there can be an external audit, which is done by someone else at our site. He's also our contractor, subcontractor. So we need to take care of that. So what are the gaps being addressed? How the gaps have to be filled? So that has to be balanced externally. It can't be internal, because there is an external audit for us. Market. Okay, now this aspect is something, when I say market segmentations, what are the new things that have come in market? So those new aspects, or the new analyzers, or the new softwares, or the new hardwares, how it's going to have an impact on our activity. So that's also a balance. The next one is, what is the addressable opportunity? Yani, is there anything that you feel that this will be a big add value to the project? Addressable opportunity. Can we have say, for example, instead of the power backups, when we go to the site, there's a lot of problems in getting a power from the locations. Can we have, say, you can say, I'm just trying to get that word, which is appropriate word. Yani, any innovative technology. Can you have a solar receptor cells at your location instead of the power? So that it could be a 24 hours working, and wherever you can keep. So you need not have the power backups. You need not have the generators done. So you can have the solar cells at your locations, which provides 24 hours of your operations at site. Because in Saudi Arabia, of course, in the Middle East, the 320, 326. I mean, you have the whole, the sunlight over throughout the year, and we're not utilizing it. So this could be an addressable opportunity. And in some of the locations where you don't have PM 2.5, you might realize that locations are very sensitive for PM 2.5, and you say that, no, this needs to have this analyzer at any cost. That's an addressable opportunity. And then another thing that comes is indirect and digital ecosystem. Yani, when you maintain a balance between external and internal components, so there is a flow of the process. You see, you have a proper operation in place, you have a proper financial, everything budget properly addressed, you're getting the innovative product, your people are in place. Yani, there is a proper ecosystem. What it means, the biological terminology, what it means is a balance between the flow from stage one to final stage without any interruption. So that's called ecosystem, which is having it's a balance, environmental balance. So why I use the term digital is because ultimately you are getting the results finally in the form of your, the server or the digital output. So that's called the digital ecosystem. So this is how is called the integration of the whole system. Okay, and this is how we say when we balance between internal and external. Okay, so this is a concept that we need to understand over and over, and we need to implement in near future. Now, how do we implement? Now the first aspect of balance, as I told you, is maintaining internal and external. Now you understand what are internal, what is external. The next thing is the second aspect of balance, which are two things which you need to understand. In your slide, as you can see, customer, marketing, financial, operational, people, this is all in place, and this is all going. But how you quantify is something that we are going to address it. Okay, so there are two measures here. One is a lag measure, one is a lead measure. So nothing to be confused. It's nothing complex. It's very simple. So what is lag measure? Lag measure means which measures your KPI goal. Okay. Now, when I say KPI goal, keeping an example of our project, for example, what is a KPI? Everybody knows our KPI is 85% to achieve, to see that, to ensure that all our analyzers are properly working, everything is in place. But the biggest problem is the KPI there is 85%, but our independent KPIs, while we come to office, when we enter into our office, is not quantified. So we come, we just do something. We feel that, okay, some mails are being sent, some correspondence is done, and something is done. We take our lunch and we move. The point is, what's your KPI independently? So to achieve a KPI of 85%, what is your contribution? Yani, that means you need to have your own KPI. We need X, Y, Z, whoever is there need to have their own KPI. So what is lag measure? The lag measure is your current status. So for example, your KPI to achieve something is, say, 75%. So the question comes is, where are you now? So when I say where are you now is your lag measure. So what is your current status? So what's your current status? So your current status is, out of 75%, you are, say, for example, sailing something around 15 to 20%. Oh, that's your lag measure. So what's your lead measure? Lead measure is something that helps you to lead that goal. So you say, for example, I want to reach from Jeddah to Yanbu is my KPI, for example. Okay. So Say, for example, traveling, it requires 3 hours. So you have a meeting at morning, say, for example, 9 o'clock, sharp 9 o'clock in Yanbo. That means you have to start approximately at 4 o'clock in Jeddah, so that at least you are there by 8, 8:30. You have that half an hour time to get prepared for the meeting, and to look energetic, to look fresh for the meeting. So what I was saying, if you see, I'm quantifying. So there is a meeting at 9 o'clock. So you have to be there at 8:30. So you have to start at 4 o'clock. So everything is quantified. So your lag measure is what? Your lag measure right now. So for example, now it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So its lag measure is 4 o'clock, but you have to reach there at 8:30, which means you have to maintain a speed of your vehicle if you are driving, say up to 80 to 100 kilometers per hour to reach there. So that is what is your lead measure that leads you to the target. So here the lead measure is the speed of your vehicle, safety and speed of your vehicle, of how you drive. Okay, so this is called the lead. So lag is where you are, lead is the activity that pushes you there. So it's a speed. So it's just not only the speed. The lead, if you say that there is one more lead measure. If you have to reach at 4 o'clock, start at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have to get up probably 3 o'clock. You fresh up, you take your cup of coffee, you see that you are energetic enough to drive, and before that you need to get a good sleep for 3 hours. You see, these are all the activities, these are the lead measures that that are actually tracking you to the meeting at next day morning. Imagine if you are really addressing these things in black and white, you know, that these are the activities I need to achieve, the results are going to be fantastic. You know, this is how it is. This is how the business is. This is how the corporate world is. And this is how we are going to address. Okay. And what's more important now? Okay, we have addressed internal and external. We have done the balance now. The next thing is lag measure and lead measure we have addressed. But the question, the third thing comes is, when I say, where is your lead measure right now for reaching a project? So our lead measure or our status is right now like this rock, you know, a big rock in the mind, where there are too many things on your table, but you don't know how to address it to reach a target. Okay. So now it's important as an activity for you to identify the important tasks, 1, 2, 3, 4 in priority, to free your mind first of all, and to have a clarity, and then get rid of that weight and address that first point. I have repeatedly heard, you know, people have been, you know, throughout, I mean, so far in my professional career, you know, say that, oh, I'm multitasking. Oh, he's a multitasking. She's a multitasking. You see, multitasking is a fancy idea, but it doesn't really happen, because you can do only one work at a time. Suppose you have to do this task at that time, practically thinking, I mean, you can think of it. If you're doing any activity, you can first of all do that activity only. You can't do 4 activities at a time. But yes, you do. After that activity, it can be a phone call, it can be something else, but you also think whether your activity that you're doing is going to be interrupted. If it is that is interrupted, is it going to have an impact on the product? If it's an impact on the product, it's going to have an impact on the innovation. So what's important is to remain focused, is to identify the task and then focus only on the task first. So if you want to focus on the task, obviously you're going to have your lag measure. So that task, for example, now when I say the task, again, it's going to be quantified. I need to give this presentation tomorrow. That's your quantification. So if you want to give it tomorrow, I need to work today for 3 hours. Okay. So that's your lag measure. So you're working on that. I need to finish it off. That's my current status. What are the activities that I'm going to reach to that activity to the lead measure is the lever. So if your mind is too filled with too many things, you would never you would never reach to a lead measure. Okay. So if you want to travel, as I am quoting this example again, you want to travel from Jeddah to Yanbu to attend a meeting at morning 9 o'clock. The only thing is you have to get up at 3 o'clock. So that's the first thing. So that's your priority to reach there. There's nothing else. If there is anything else that you have to do, your meeting is canceled there, or you can't attend your meeting. So that's how you are trying to list out the activities in priority. You know, this is how doing about identifying the activities, right? So now you have started. Okay. I'm just refreshing the things. You have maintained the balance between internal and external. You have identified your lag measure and lead measure. Yalla, now I am ready for the race. So when I say I'm ready for the race, it's not a 100 meters race. It's going to be a continuous marathon. Yani, you have to keep on running. You have to keep on giving the quality. It's just not the report today, finish and I rest for another 10 days. No, there has to be a continuous process, which means you are running a marathon. And when I say you're running for marathon, you can't just get up one fine day in the morning at 5 o'clock and you go out, you realize that you're not able to walk even half a kilometer because you have not been walking for months together. That means, first of all, you have to train your mind. You have to identify the tasks. You have to put it on paper. You have to focus and you have to concentrate. So taking an example that you're running a marathon, what are the things you do? So in running a marathon, there are two things again, just as an example here, you can see on the screen. So there is a lag measure, there is a lead measure. Now this is a live example. I mean, the best example that you can take, you can see on the screen. So lag measure is the time taken in running the marathon. Okay. So for example, the time taken running marathon, for example, it is 1 month. It is 30 days. It is 15 days. Okay. What are the lead measures for that? So what are the activities that you do to reach to that target? So to running a marathon, first of all, you need to have an effective diet. And apart from diet, you need to have a regular coaching. You can see on the screen what I'm saying now. And then you need to have a training regime. Okay. So you have a diet and you have a regular coaching. So I say that, oh, I have joined the gym. That's it. It's beautiful that to say to anybody that, oh, I have joined the gym, you know, but you know, he hardly goes to a gym once or twice in a month. So that's not regular training. So you need to get into a regular training. That means you address your tasks and you work on those tasks regularly till you achieve a target, you know. And to have a training regime and you have a regular diet or fantastic diet, I'm taking a very good balance between carbo and protein, I have a regular coaching, oh, there is a trainer, fantastic, fine. But to have these three things, the most important thing is you need to have a mental focus. It's all about in the mind. If you want to reach a target, you need to have the passion, you need to have the diet, you need to have the coaching, and you need to have a training. And definitely with that mental focus, you would be able to reach the lead measure effectively. Okay. What are the key components now? Okay, I'm just refreshing again. You have maintained a balance between internal and external. You know what are the internal components and external now. After that, you have identified what is a lag measure and what is your lead measure. Very good. And after that, you know what is your current status of lag measure and how you get your lead measure. Okay. And what are the things that you have to do? Fine. But there has to be a continuous process for this integrated approach. Okay. As I tell you, the integrated approach, the owner is the boss, or the client is the boss. Okay. Now you have a lag measure, which you know what is your lag measure. You have a lead measure. You know what is your lead measure. You have a KPI goals. Yani my KPI, to reach my KPI is 90%. You have your lag, you have your lead. Now, when I say your KPI to reach somewhere is 85%, anywhere around 75 or 70%, you can say that you're almost nearing the goal. So you can say you are in yellow. Okay, that's a color code. Okay. But suppose you are just in the 10% or 20% of your KPI, which means you are actually in red. Okay. And when you are nearing very much nearing the KPI, say 85%, you are almost in 80%. There's a 5% difference. You can say that you're almost all in the green. So while we are addressing a percentage that you have 10, 20 or 15, it's also important that we address the colors. Like if you are achieved the target, it's green. If you have just started or nothing, that means your lag status, which is red. And if you have achieved the target, it is green, as I told. And if it is in between, it is called yellow or amber colored. Okay. Fine. Now you have the lag, you have the lead, you have the KPI goals, you are reaching the happiness of the owner to the client, and you have the color coding done. But we are dealing a project of say, for example, so many people, and everybody is having their own KPIs. They have their own lag measures. They have their own lead measures. Their lead measure is different from somebody else. The question comes is, when you are dealing with these different people with different lead measures, how do you sync, or how do you know what is the overall activity of the performance or the team? So there has to be somebody who you know who bells the drum, continuously beats the drum. That's called the rhythm. So somebody lag measure is defined, but is not able to do follow up. Somebody is doing well, that's a good rhythm. Somebody is not doing doing it down, that is down, you need to rhythm. So there has to be somebody who maintains that rhythm. That means somebody is running a marathon. For example, you start a marathon, or you have a lot of energy, you start a marathon, you very speed, and after that you realize that you're not able to run. Okay, so you're down. So there is an encouragement required, although you're down. Okay, slow down and again build up your energy. So that's the rhythm. Okay, so it's a continuous process. So we need to also identify somebody who can be this, play a critical role of giving the energy and to have this rhythm done. Yeah. As I told you anyway, this is the graphic status indicators. uh, the individual responsible for driving the results, of course, is the owner. We need to have color coding, as I told you, and we need to have the KPI goals, so it should be quantified. Now this is the same thing. So the KPI goals will be yellow. Of course, the owner who is driving the KPI goals will be in the green. This color coding can be played it around, depending on the convenience. Okay, it need not be the same box that I have given. It can also be referred to the tasks that we are doing. Okay, that can be addressed when we put these activities in our project and try to really implement this. What I'm trying to say in the whole context is that we should work hard, but more than that, we should work smart, or we should be smarter. It's very important. So most of these type of projects, you see, you realize that some people are working really hard. You said, oh my God, I'm working really hard. But down the line, you say that the output is not coming from that person. But but what's evident is that he's working. I mean, he's working really hard. So either the job that he's doing is he's not able to give an output to that, he's just stuck, or else his targets are so difficult that it's not achievable, or else he is not trained to do what he's doing. You know, so what's important now is to get smarter. And you know, what I found is every word in smarter has a very specific meaning, and it can be related to our activity. Okay, so when I say smarter, S means, which basically is specific. Yani, your activity should specify your KPI clearly, what you want to achieve. And next one is measurable. That means whatever you do, it should be measurable. So if I say, I have done the calibration, that's just an activity. Can I see the repeatability of the results of your calibration? Is it measurable? Yes. As long as your activity is not measurable, take anything in this world, any activity is not, if it's not measurable, it's not done. Anything. And when I mean to say anything, you can take anything, even your cooking and the kitchen. You know, the quantity, the quantum of the spice that you add, you know, the quantity of the salt that you add, everything. Then when you get into the breakdown of it, it say that, oh, I have added more salt, I have added less salt. So that less or more is a measurable quantity. Third one, A, is that it should be achievable. We don't try to say that I am trying to do something very big. Oh my God. But ultimately it's not achievable, and it's never being finished within the tenure of the project, is of no use. Whatever the idea that you're speaking that comes off your mind, which is relevant to that project, should be achievable. That's very important. And the other one is time. Okay, it's very important. So anything that you are doing, if it is not time based, if it does not have a deadline, it's of no use. So it's important that you need to have the times, you need to have the deadlines defined, and that deadline should be met with a relevant approach. That's very important. And finally, evaluate. Okay, I have reached the target. This is it. I am in time. I have done it. But ultimately, the result that I am getting, when I evaluate, it's not in place. There is some problem with the repeatability of your data. There is a problem with you can say the accuracy. There is a problem with the standardization. So that's called the evaluation of the process. It's very critical. And sometimes, you know, when you have this evaluation, first of all, there has to be a self-evaluation. Okay, there's always a process that an external evaluation, the process of external evaluation is always to find out, you know, the points, but it's not but when you have a self-evaluation, you know that some mistake is being done, the number of cases of external evaluation comes down. So obviously it is how it is done. And then re-evaluate. So it's evaluation done, but again, it's re-evaluated, which means it's a marathon and it's a continual process. It's just not one time that we do. Got the point? Now, this is how we do, okay? And whatever I told now, it's not theoretical. It has to be put on paper and it is practically applicable. When you say a description of KPI, okay? And when you say what is the current result, Okay, what is the current status? It's an X. And what is the desired result when it's going to Y? Yani X is your current status, which is called the lag measure. Okay. Lead measure is your Y. So your lag measure, for example, if I say is 20%, your target is, say, for example, 90%, your lag measure and your current status is X, which is 20%, which means you have to reach another 60%, and you have to travel. So your Y target becomes 60. So what are the lead activities that is driving you to reach the target is called the lead measure. And that has to be a deadline. There has to be a deadline. You can say that, okay, my target is 20%, I want to reach 60, khalas, I reach my target. But it doesn't mean that you will reach a target in 1 year or 6 months. There has to be a defined deadline. By when? That's called deadline. And if you say that the deadline, I'm making the deadline in 2 months, why you're pushing yourself so hard? It's a very difficult task. It's 2 months. Because it's more important. The question comes is why? Because that is very important. This aspect is very critical. I have to push myself hard for this. For example, if I'm analyzing two important components, that is much more important than other parameters. So I have to push myself hard. So that's called why this has to be in target in place. And there are certain guidelines for setting a thresholds, yani for lag measure and lead measure. But that will come with a bit of an experience. You know, when you start working on this concept and you try to quantify yourself, and when you try to mention the lag measure or the lead measure, so that will take time for you to understand. But the basic logic here is, this is your current phase. As I told you, can see the rock. The idea is about moving this rock and to maintain the balance and to maintain the liver. So now this is how it is. The liver has to move a lot to move the rock a little. Okay. So this is how it is. Your mind is now filled with a lot of loads and you are down. So identify the activities so that you list out 1, 2, 3, 4 and throw out the other things from your mind so that the liver is balanced. Now this is the slide that you can see. Can I take action on it in every week or not in every week? Now this is something we can define depending on the project or the importance of the project or the content of the project as a whole, because there are certain points where there has to be an activity at a weekly basis. There are certain points where there has to be activity on a monthly basis. So we identify those tasks, we identify those activities, and we categorize that to weekly and monthly basis. And there has to be a scoreboard. When I say the scoreboard, this is a dashboard. And all these activities can be addressed in a dashboard. There is a formulation, identifying your lag measure, lead measure, and we can apply to that. So based on all the exercise or all the description that I have given, if I ask you, where are we now? Are we losing or winning? Or where should we be now? So the situation where we are. If you address the activity that you are doing, okay, my lag measure now is okay. I have reached 40% of my target, and 40%, yani out of 100%, I reached 40%. So I'm left with another 60%. So I'm say in 40%, not bad. Am I winning or losing? I'm not losing, but I'm not winning yet. And where should we be now? Say 50% of the target. Yani, say if I have to reach 80% is my target KPI. If I am around 45% or 40 to 45%, you can say that, okay, you are going in good direction. But after say completion of 1 year of the project, and you see your KPI, your independent KPIs, when you say you are only in 20%, which means it's not good. That means there is something lacking and you really have to work hard to achieve that. Yeah. This is yeah. I mean, this is another way to evaluate yourself whether the task is simple, or I'm losing somewhere, or can I win, or what can I do. This is a self-assessment of the things where you can go to this slide again. Okay. Now this is a linkage. We will understand this when actually applying this. Say for example, uh, when somebody is successful in making a league, when making a lag to lead, you know, that can be referred as a case study. You know that what are the things that he has done to achieve a target, and what was his lag measure, how he has achieved, and what was the continual work that was inspiring. So this is how it is. This is the same thing. How to link between customers, the sub consultants, or the partners, or the process and the people. Okay, this is very important. This slide is very important in this context. You see the previous 2 or 3 slides which I have skipped, and I didn't give much of an explanation because it's more or less the same. Like it's just an additional content of what I said to the previous slides. But this one, what you can see on the screen, is very important, Yani. When you, when somebody in the team achieves a target, so say for example, working hard to reach a lag measure to lead measure, okay, and achieves that within the time, within the target, which means there is something that he has done, or something significant, which shall be an example, which sets as an example to others. So there has to be that storytelling. We need to have these meetings of how the target he has achieved, which was a difficult task, and that's be an inspiration to others. So we have to have this sort of a storytelling thing, and how we have done this task and it was difficult, and resetting the task. So this has to be a record, and so that this record passes on to everybody in the team, so that learn and get inspired. Yeah. So this is the same. You need to have this continuous coaching. If you have not achieved target something, understanding the difference, this is the same. So if you realize that where your current level of performance is this, and over a period of time you have to have this desired level of performance onto the top. Say this desired level is 80% and your current level is 20%. So this is how you have to work. And sometimes you will fall down, you have to get up, you fall down, you get up. It's like the ECG stuff that we sometimes get tested. So it's how it goes. But the point is, it has to go. It can't stop. That's very important. So this is a continual process. This is on the management front, like when you have defined a task, how to strike the task and how to follow up, having a verbal warning, you have not done it, and then there is a written mail by the top management. This is something where an organization implements this very strongly, and say that you have this targets not reached on a day-to-day or on a weekly basis. This is something which can be done by the management, but it's not required in every case, in every project. What's important is people understand and gets inspired, and for a professional setup this won't be required. Yeah. uh, so there are certain things which cannot be improved, or which cannot be measured, that we will understand over a period of time, once we execute this or put this in a sheet or in an Excel. And then we understand that there are certain indicators, there are certain lag measures where it's not moving out, it's not moving, there's something stuck, or it requires a lot of people. So we filter those lag measures, and work as a team together. That's the second step. Okay, so this is it. Okay, now that you have an understanding of the whole six elements, right? Customer, operation, financial, product, innovation. Okay, these six elements. Now what I propose is, just go through this slide again, and you have any doubt, you can refer to my video again. What I request all of you people is to think of a proposal depending on the activity that you do on a daily basis. So for example, you have an experience of last 1 year of your project, 2 years. You might have faced problem. You might have realized, oh, this is not happening. This should have been done properly. So from your perspective, write a proposal. Say, I want to do this for this project. Why? Yani objective. By doing this, I will be achieving this. So if I achieve this, this should be useful to the customer. This should improve our operation. This will be an innovative approach. So if you feel that this proposal, this new proposal from coming from your mind will adhere to these activities, you are in place. And those proposals, if it is feasible, very important, it should be within the budget. Don't say that you have $1 million idea and I want to execute this, which is out of the budget. You will be wasting your time. So within the budget, this is the project, this is the proposal, this is can be achievable in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, and this is how the product is. So we will look into that, and we will try to even implement it in an effective way. And when you are implementing, we can frame the balance score, and we can get the dashboard. That's called the dashboard, and we can get into the dashboard and try to implement it. Yeah, this is it. Thank you for your time, and look forward for the proposals. And you can refer to the video again. If you have any doubts, you can let me know. Thank you.